Philalitheia. It is cold, and Zanesville is still shut down. I called Panera, and they didn't answer the phone. So I didn't call Dollar Tree to see if they answered the phone, but I haven't heard any kind of human noises today. None. I've heard no human noises today. So I suspect that Zanesville is just taking the opportunity to have a no commerce day, which is both good and bad. I was not prepared for zero commerce days. I wasn't prepared for Zanesville to shut down. I live in Ohio, where we have salt and plows. Everybody in this town owns a fucking 4x4 truck. Why the hell is anything shut down? Is a question that I can't answer. We live in 2021. It shouldn't be like this. The city doesn't have enough money to buy salt. We have a problem. If the city doesn't have enough money to pay the people with the trucks to push the snow to a manageable place, what you have is governmental support. So the town in Ohio that also has the city, even in Ohio, has the largest per capita homeless in Ohio, also can't salt its roads, right? Can't plow the snow off its roads. What does that say? What do these things in combination say? They tell me that American Democrat leadership is a waste of time, incompetent. A little bit of snow ain't no thing. It's not like we're talking about a huge, massive dump of ice. We're just talking about some snow. And it had been 2 degrees the week before, so we knew the road and the grounds, the roads and the ground were going to be frozen. We knew it was all going to stick and it was all going to accumulate. So why, while it was dumping and accumulating, we didn't have people out pouring salt down on the straight roads and then plowing them is beyond me. It's not beyond me. It means that there's no money. It means there was no money and no will for it to happen. So it didn't happen. And so now this town it's 2 days behind. It's now 2 days behind in commerce. And you might be thinking, okay, well, yeah, sure, that's 2 days. That's 2 days of pay don't have to make up, but it's also 2 days of utilities that they make up. They still have to make their rent. Still have to make rent. If you're not generating business for 2 days, now you're 2 days behind on making rent. Communists don't care about that, because communists aren't going to pay their rent anyway. So here we are. Good morning. I'm cold, I'm hungry, and I'm going to have an increasingly small patience for bullshit today. But welcome. This is my tent. What up? I went live because trying to generate an income and trying to do something creative and interesting is better than being bored and sleeping all day. Life be hard out there. For whom is life hard? D-Lo? Thank you, Ryan. This is what happens when the planet warms to a certain percentage. When it warms over a certain threshold, it freezes like this. So the warmer it gets because of humans burning things like coal and gasoline and natural gas, the harsher our winters are going to get until the winters just never end. That's just what happens. We know this. We don't talk about it because if you knew that the reason that the winters are getting longer and harsher is because of your car, you would stop driving your car. If you knew that the reason the winters are getting longer and harsher is because of the energy consumption of the internet, you would stop using the internet. Thank you, Pest. We fixed the hole in the ozone by asking people to be aware, mindful of their energy consumption. We fixed it. And so now, if what we want is to go back 50 years in time to what the weather was like back then, you're gonna have to be even more mindful. You're gonna have to be mindful of, well, how much carbon am I contributing to the atmosphere every time I get in my car just to drive 2 minutes down the road? Am I contributing more carbon? Am I the reason the winters are longer because I drove 2 minutes when I could have walked 20? The answer is yes. But you don't have to be mindful of it right now because you just think that warm is what's happening, that it's just that it's getting hotter on average. Hello, Sari. But that isn't the direct result of getting warmer on average because we're actually leaving naturally. The planet was in an ice age a few hundred years ago. The reason that Europe needed North America was because its populations were too big for the climate. It was too cold to maintain the populations that they had gotten while the planet was warming up toward that collapse into an ice age. We are actually coming out of a little ice age. The planet is stabilizing now toward the temperatures it was in the 18th and 17th centuries when those populations were booming. Hello, Shane. But because of our intervention, it's going to keep going up and then it's going to bottom out. That's just how that graph always works. In fact, we evolved from Australopithecines into Heidelbergensis, actually into Homo erectus, and then from Homo erectus into Heidelbergensis when the planet's 40,000 year alternating freeze cycles became a 1,000 or a 100,000 year alternating freeze cycle. So basically, what happened is that the planet skipped 2 thaw cycles. It just stayed frozen for 2 cycles because it had gotten warm enough that it just didn't thaw out. And then after that 20,000 year thaw, there are all kinds of different Homo clades running around. And then by the time the next ice age, the next cyclical ice age hits, or maybe not even the next, several later, what we call the ice age, right? Something like 70,000 years ago to like 11,000 years ago. These numbers are hard for me to hold in my hand, in my head. Probably not though, Shane, because if you if you do the math, buddy, if you do the math, the corporations are spreading out their guilt by having that 0.1 add up 15 million times, 1 billion times. Sure, that's what I'm saying. You don't have to think about your individual contribution. You don't have to be mindful of your individual contributions because you can't do the math of scale. You don't fully appreciate how large our populations are and how fast they're growing. In fact, that populations in the West are slowing down is a direct result of being mindful of energy consumption at all. Imagine if we were still having 5 children in a household and every one of them was driving a Buick. You would need to be mindful of your consumption. But because families now have slimmed down to 2 children, oftentimes only 1 child, and they don't inherit that child with a big American car at 16, we have, in fact, become more mindful of our energy consumption. So you can say, oh, well, my 0.01% of the consumption that these corporations are doing is fine. But a corporation is like maybe 15 buildings at the scale that you're thinking, maybe even one factory. And that one factory is producing less than the 5 billion people who use their products. That's just math. You can't do the scale, but that's fine. No one's asking you to do the scale. My entire argument is that they are asking you not to be mindful of the scale at which these products are being consumed. They're asking you to think that, oh, I'm only 0.01% of the problem. My consumption can't scale up to becoming a problem. But that's also why you're a giant fat ass. Hello, Monroe. What's up? Love you too, Monroe. Thank you for letting me know. I just heard the trash cans at Kohl's go off. That might mean that there are people in Kohl's. Just because I hadn't heard any human noises before 9 a.m., 9:40 doesn't mean that there are no humans out and about. I can, because I do it all the time, I can also be bitching about things that aren't true. I could be just letting my bitch lag for 24 hours because I didn't go live to bitch about the fact that everything was closed yesterday. Everything might be open today, and Panera might just have the very worst customer service in the history of humankind. They might have just decided that they're not going to answer their phone anymore because they're tired of people calling to see if they're open, which is just the worst behavior. It's just the worst practices. It might be the case. That's why I didn't even bother with Dollar Tree. This stuff might all be open, just because I don't hear cars um, echoing up the hills from the valley down below doesn't mean they're not there. I did. I looked up online if they were open yesterday, and it said that everything was open. And trust me, nothing was open. Yeah, I'm the idiot because I know that Google doesn't know because Google has no way of knowing whether the town is open or closed or not. But I'm the idiot. Right now, I don't know. Yeah, I'm the idiot, and now you've moved over. I expect significantly better than this. I already laid out what I expect. I expect salt and plows. Commerce shouldn't slow down for 8 inches of snow. It's just a little bit of ice. And frankly, the insurance companies and the car companies need the revenue of you idiots driving like assholes. But I'm the idiot because I already laid this out. No, you're just wrong, Shane. I've already demonstrated you wrong, and all you did was say that I know that you're wrong. Hey, Bob, what's up? Sleet and snow. Yeah, I can't go anywhere. See, in Georgia, I wouldn't be surprised that you can't go anywhere because Georgia doesn't know that they're on the Ohio River. Georgia doesn't know that they're on the Great Lakes. Yeah, calling me dumb is what a dumb person would do, Monroe. I'm not worried about it. Showing up at the end of an argument where the argument has already been laid out and then telling the person that they haven't thought out the argument when they're telling you that you don't have argument at all is what a stupid person would do. And if a stupid person is going to call me like shrewd, so I'm not worried about it. Move on. Yeah, I did call you a fat ass, Shane. I'm not debating with you. I'm the one on camera. If you were also on camera and we were moderated by someone who was also on camera, we would be debating. What I'm doing is directly insulting your intelligence. I'm not bothered. and your body mass. Not only did I call you a stupid person, I called you a fat ass. So basically, I said that not only are you unintelligent, not only are you unobservant, not only are you useless to the human genome, but you also overconsume. You take more than your fair share. You're selfish, you're stupid, you're blind, and you're useless. I'm just not concerned with your opinion of me or my approach. Because as much as I'm talking to you, you are a teaching moment for the audience. Oxygen thief. Yeah, you're an oxygen thief. You consume more than your fair share. And this is my point as regards the weather changing. Like this snow that we're reacting poorly to, even though it's just snow. It's just snow. It has no reason to slow down commerce in the way that it has. Except it does have a very good reason that it slowed down commerce the way it has. The American Democrats have done everything they can to drain the American people of their spending money, of their commerce money, since 2007. It's just nature. Yeah, you get fat if all you do is sit around and do nothing. Bothered looks like me screaming and yelling and throwing things, Melissa. Ask Rachel what me being bothered by your behavior looks like. Ask her what it sounds like. Being bothered would be me raising my voice, screaming, and my composure just completely falling away. I'm in Ohio. No, I cannot build a fire. If I built a fire, I would set my home on fire, and then I would have no home. Anyway, I have no way of curing and storing firewood. And pressurized gases for flame are not something that you want to have in an enclosed environment, especially when it's cold. That's how you blow shit up. Well, electricity would be a good addition, Melissa. And again, a space heater's just going to catch my shit on fire. I don't even remember that, Monroe. So if you do, I'm glad that you're still here. I'm glad that I didn't turn you off for good. No, I'm not in a city. Zanesville isn't really a city. It calls itself a city. And the media, when they refer to Zanesville, they call it a city. But it's actually like five different small towns that all meet at a sort of four corners. And Zanesville itself has sort of unethically, really, if you look at it, Zanesville is itself a gentrification of a bunch of different poor southern towns. It's kind of fucked up if you just look at it on a map. It's kind of like England, like all of the good land and all of the businesses that are surrounded by land that people can move into, that's purchasable. All of that is in Zanesville, and then everything else is the nearby towns. But Zanesville puts all of those people in the nearby towns to work in the land that is purchasable. It's kind of fucked up. Yeah, I'm sure that cities like Pittsburgh haven't just completely shut down. Sure, Melissa, but you don't live in a tent. I am in a tent right now. I'm actually in a backpack tent. I don't know where you think I would put that heater, but it's going to set my shit on fire. I just don't know where you think I would put it. Huh? Well, I'm surviving one day at a time, wrestling dude. This is actually my second winter out here. Um, Last year was a lot more difficult. I had to wake up early in the morning to make sure that I got to Christ's table before noon so I could eat at the shelter because I didn't have the a tea candle is going to set my shit on fire, dude. You don't understand how small this space is. I have nowhere that I could set a tea candle that its immediate flame wouldn't be touching something that's either fabric, net, or tarp. The immediate flame would set my shit on fire. Yeah, I don't. Well, first of all, I can't buy hand warmers. I don't need hand warmers. I have a rechargeable hand warmer that's charging right now. I also have my vapes charging right now on my external battery that I've had since the summer. You're asking me how I survive this way. I survive this way on tips, and I've been doing it for a year and a half. Yeah, I'm not balancing a flame on my leg. I'm not desperate. I'm so not desperate, I'm live on the internet. Because they're not trying to help, Noctos. They're telling me how to live a life that they've never lived. This isn't as difficult as you think it is if you know what you're doing and you're not a dumbass. My hands are naked. I'm not even wearing my gloves. I'm currently charging my hand warmer that I didn't really use last night. It died before I even fell asleep. I sat here and watched the AFC and NFC championship games on my phone in the tent while it snowed around me, guys. You don't understand. I live a lot better than you do. It's just cold. And I'm bored. Yep, calling me a dumbass is not listening to me. It's just talking over me. Yep, dude, I was trying to help. Dude, I was trying to help. I'm not asking for help. Home is where your heart is. That's right. I'm starting to get agitated, Odebeck. I don't know why you think I'm not fine. I haven't once complained that I'm not fine. I've complained that I'm bored and then I'm going to run out of energy in my external battery before I starve to death. I don't know that you've voiced your ideas. I'm in Ohio. I'm in central Ohio. It just spent the last 24 or something hours raining ice, and the state's freaking out. Like that's never happened before. Not in the way you want, Mega. I've had a black woman before. I don't think I'll go back to that. I do smell like balls. It's not that difficult. Not if you can generate a little bit of an income. The hardest part is generating a stable income, doing what I'm doing. The most difficult part is eating an adequate amount of calories to stay warm. So I'm not going to be able to leave the tent. If nothing's open right now, I can't leave the tent to acquire calories. Life is incredibly boring. Once you master survival, the rest is just tedium and boredom. That's why I chose to go a more difficult, less traveled route. I don't know why people are freaking out over this snow either. This is nothing compared to things that I faced in my teens. We had an actual ice storm in southern Ohio in 2007, where it was raining liquid ice. It was coming down and it was hitting and it was freezing and it was accumulating blocks of ice everywhere. And I worked third shift at a Kroger through the 3 days of that. This is nothing new. That we're shutting down for this. We sat outside. Me and my coworkers, we sat outside having our smoke breaks and our snack breaks outside that Kroger, and we watched the fucking bank had a thermometer. We watched it drop as the night went from -2 to -15 degrees before we left at 6 a.m. And we just watched it. I was eating ice cream. No, you cannot come live with me. If more than one person were to come down and live in this space, they would ask me to leave in unfriendly terms. Well, I have bills. That's the thing. Thank you, Monroe. That means that on the 21st of next month, I will also be able to cash out. I made $250 on YouTube on the 21st of January, and I reinvested that back into the channel. I spent about $100 in games to play for the channel, things to talk about, to give us an extended menu of things to have to talk about, so that I'm thinking, because the month before that with my cash out, I bought a bunch of books. Oh, thank you, David. Thank you, Monroe. Be well. And I do remember our early conversation. Um, I never expected you to come back. That's why I treat all of you with the dignity, and I treat you all with the dignity and and respect of a one night stand. I expect none of you to be back. And I'm like also serious, David. No, I'm not going to put my life under the stewardship of someone that I don't know or trust. My name is Vincent. Vincent Kyle Dennis, if you need to know. You can find my rantings and ravings on YouTube by that name, going all the way back to 2005. Thank you, Monroe. So I talked about this yesterday, but you might notice that I didn't get irritated with Monroe and his tip, because Monroe's been here for months. I like to earn my wages, not just be given them as charity. I'm sorry, Jar Choco. They did everything they needed to do to win, except what's his name? I'm not going to get it. Somebody called him Stedman the other day. Stidham fell up short on that final drive, and goddamn, but he did everything that a backup could do. So just just be ready. You're not the Bills. My thoughts on the satanic overlords of the world, I've captured on other videos earlier on the channel. Um, it's a hard thing to pivot to right now, especially if I'm talking about football with these guys, my long fans. Stick around and we can talk about it when it slows down. It is cold as shit. Well, I would love for you to buy me a cup of coffee. If you would like to tip on the channel, it'll pay out on the 21st. But everything's closed in this town right now. I would love to accept that and go get a cup of coffee. Um, but everything's closed right now. Patriots Nation, indeed. Football's definitely not scripted. Um, I don't know who Renee is. Do you mean Alex O'Connor? I'm not sure who you mean, Gamer Kid. I don't know those. I don't know those epithets. Thank you, Ryan. I'm glad to hear that for you, Dormant. Yeah, I'm losing you a little bit, Kaiser, but um, yes, I know what you're talking about. It's hard to hold on to that stuff. Um, I don't know what you're talking about, Gamer. Kevin Stefanski? No, Kevin. Uh, you guys are hitting me with a lot of stuff all at once. Yes, the OC is about to move on from the Eagles, probably, but they really need to consider that Jalen Hurts is regressing. Yes, thank you, Monroe. That's what I mean when I say that all of these interactions are a teaching moment. That if somebody's just sitting and watching the aggregate, they can learn a lot. They can learn a lot. Kevin Patullo, thank you. I'm It's still early in the day for me, guys, and I haven't had enough calories. But thank you for giving me this work. I have no idea. The only thing that I can figure is that the ownership of the Steelers think they can still win with this roster, and that what's his name, Rodgers would have retired if they didn't go with Mike McCarthy. It's a silly move if they want to have stability over the next 20 years again, but I don't think they want stability. I think they want to try to win in the next 3 years. I think their roster is expensive, and that none of those guys uh, retired. None of them retired in despair. So I think they're trying to get those guys a Super Bowl. That's kind of what I'm thinking too, Ryan. Um, uh, they gotta give Hurts some stability at the OC spot. I know that it's still the same system because of the head coach, but they just got to give him the same guy in his ear every day at school every day. I said at school. I meant in the classroom, right? Like in the film study room on the sideline. Give him the same guy every day for a few years. Let him grow within the system. Kevin Stefanski with the Falcons. I really like Kevin Stefanski a lot, but Baker Mayfield. So I'm in Ohio, right? So been watching the Browns. I don't think I'm the prize. Anyway, um, I've been watching the Browns for decades, just for years. Uh, it's almost been 2 decades now, watching them closely, and Kevin Stefanski was my favorite coach that they've had over that time. But Baker Mayfield saying that he didn't even reach out to wish him good luck or wish him well after they moved on from him. That Kevin Stefanski didn't reach out to Baker. That was that opened my eyes a little bit. But um, the Falcons have that indoor stadium and they want to play offense. They've got a good defense and they've just got to get somebody who can make any quarterback work. And Stefanski's done that. So if they can give him 3, cannon him because they can't identify a quarterback, I don't know. But I like Kevin Stefanski a lot. Who do I have winning this Super Bowl? I really want to see the Seahawks win this. I called early this summer. I said that the 2 quarterbacks to watch this year to actually appear in the Super Bowl were the guys in them right now. I said watch Drake May, watch Sam Darnold. If those guys can win their division with clean football, they can win it all. And here we are. Care. But I would really like to see Darnold's career, the narrative around his career, turn from how bad his teams are to how excellent he actually is at football. At football. And so watching him play with a team, like I know that he led the league in turnovers, but that's because that guy trusts his arm and the ball, and he'll only get better and he'll have fewer turnovers if he's in the same system for 3 seasons. Kind of like what I'm talking about with Hurts. Pussy is the best. Women are the worst. Yeah, and that Stefanski didn't reach out might have been an organizational thing, and so he might reach out now. Who knows? I agree, Monroe. Relationships are like a business negotiation. I currently have no women in my life, Kaiser, because the one that I let in did everything she could to destabilize my life. The ones I keep letting those ones in, and that's about temperament. That's about choice, and yeah, it's about thinking that you can tame them. It's about thinking that you can actually wife a woman in today's world. It's not really within my wheelhouse, Mr. Green. Like I don't even have a good pun to tell you. It's not in my wheelhouse. That's funny, Bud Rock. Oh, thank you, Sabrina. Hey, that's perfect. That is the perfect kind of tip. That's what I'm asking for. Thank you. That's the perfect amount. You don't understand. That I'm not going to get annoyed with you, and I'm not going to think that you're trying to manipulate me in some way. Thank you, Sabrina. That was exactly what I'm asking for. Hey, Marble. It's gonna take me some time to keep up with that. There's a lot happening. And I just keep seeing that meme. The When a man asks me what I have to offer, I say I'm not a fucking waitress. Uh, I want a woman who's going to respond to the entire construct in that manner. I want a seether. I'm doing my best, Bob. I am doing my very best. I am warm. Well, don't. I'm not asking for a pledge, Sabrina. Stick around. Just stick around and watch my work in the aggregate. And if it touches you like it touched Monroe, then let me, spend your money on food and for the channel. Because right now, what I'm trying to do, if you want to pledge to me, I would prefer to sell I think they're start at $10 on the Patreon. So I can start to try to stack those together for $1,500 a month so I can just move into an apartment and do this properly. I don't think anything is open today, Todd. Um, if it were, I've made enough money today to go, and I made enough money yesterday. That's how I know that everything was closed yesterday to justify the hike. But I don't think anything's open. I called Panera before I did this, and they didn't answer the phone. I know you are, Monroe. I know you're joking. Yeah, I think that I haven't looked, but the state might just be shut down. Ohio might have just decided to call a state of emergency and shut everything down because they didn't even plow the parking lot yesterday. There were 12 inches of snow just laying on the road when I went out to see what was up here in Texas. And see, states like Texas, like Georgia, I've had a couple of people talk to me now from southern states. I grew up in North Carolina. That they go, "Oh, it's going to snow. Stay the fuck inside. See what it looks like, and then we'll figure it out in a couple of days." That makes sense in the South. In Ohio, I find it highly annoying. Huxley? I don't know what that means. Ian, is that a part of Texas, or are you a big Aldous? How's his name's pronounced? Aldous Huxley fan? You shouldn't have a clue what to do in the snow down there. It's going to happen to you twice a decade. I understand that. I grew up in Charlotte. We got that big snow in like 93 or something like that. That big blizzard that hit the Northeast in the early 90s, mid 90s, whenever that was. It might have been 97. Maybe it was 95 exactly. I don't remember. I was young and I didn't have any way to contextualize it because we always wintered in Ohio um when I was a kid. So we spent all of my Christmas breaks in Ohio, so it was always snowy. My parents are from Ohio. Um so when we came back to North Carolina and there was snow everywhere, it was memorable, but I don't have any way to contextualize it. Like I don't know when it was in my um childhood. Heard that, Sabrina. And that's not a bad way to be in Texas. Texas gets some shit. So much snow in Michigan. Yeah, so much snow. You guys, Michigan gets more snow than we do usually, especially down here. I'm in the middle of the state. I'm not on the lakes. I hate that too, Todd. That's kind of what I was bitching about. Is we have the technology, we have the know-how. 20 years ago, this was no big deal. I don't understand why this is freezing everything. I just, there's a part of me who's like, it's an anti-commerce conspiracy theory to try to tank the economy again because Trump is doing well. And I hate talking like that because you're going to think that I'm a Trump supporter. But that's how our government works. And that, yeah, are they going to pay the government salaries? Of course they are. They're salaried. They pay for us snow guys. Heard that. I'm doing my best. 8-bit. Hmm. That might not be real though, Monroe. That might not be real. Um, but there are reasons. Ice is ice acts funny. We see natural stuff, natural interactions between hot things and cold things, and we see magic because we don't understand exactly what's happening. But like pollution, yeah, it could have chemicals. That's what rain is. So it could have a chemical composition that's combustible under heat and pressure. And so that might look like magic, or that might even look like it's poisonous. Or definitely don't eat snow if you don't have to. But there might also be a perfectly logical or perfectly natural explanation for what's happening that you and I don't know, that that person does know, and is manipulating our ignorance to make us believe that the government is trying to poison us. Acid rain is rain that has a higher, however it works, higher or lower, whichever. I think higher pH means acid, has a higher pH content than standard water. But that can happen for a variety of reasons. And acid rain isn't. You wouldn't even notice the difference if you were standing out in it naked. It's not so acidic that you would notice it. Um, the issue with acid rain is that it was eating all of our monuments, like our cities. The concrete was being eaten away, and it turned black. Yeah, that might not be real. Um, that might have been manipulated in some way because we have the technology, right? In movies, you can make a ball of snow, and then you can cut at the frame where the snow was completed, put an identical ball of something in. You could actually even coat that ball of snow that you've just made in the flammable gel that they use in movies that they'll coat people's hands in. You coat the ball in the gel and you set it on fire, and you fear mongering, yeah, because there's a lot of money to be made in hoaxes. We know this from the 19th century, right? Like I had a creationist come through the channel yesterday trying to tell me about how we know that we know that humans lived at the time of the dinosaurs for some reason, because there are human footprints and dinosaur footprint fossils. But we also know that those were hoaxes, because those things are easy to hoax. Because if people have a pre-existing belief, like that the government is trying to kill them or being negligent, and you demonstrate evidence of it, everything else around it, they're just going to take it face value because it already reinforces their pre-existing belief. We know how this works. We've known how this works because that's what William James wrote about, and William James is the father of psychology. So if psychology began at trying to understand why people are so easily hoaxed, and why people believe things that don't make any sense, and why people give up their will to things like governments and religions, if psychology began there, then this is a phenomena that's been happening forever. Oh, I don't even notice. I didn't even notice the typo. Maybe nostalgia. Yeah, witch trials. And then the witch trials are just, they're just an example of scapegoating. And scapegoating it's a pre-literate tradition that was written down in Deuteronomy, in the Bible. Scapegoating is literally the practice of taking a black goat and casting it out of the tribe and blaming it for all of the tribe's wrongdoings as a method of wiping the slate clean of all of the tribe's internal wrongdoings, right? So like you've got 7 adults, right? And those 7 adults are tangled. They're a tangled web of wrongdoings to one another, minor betrayals, minor wrongdoings, things that won't break the tribe up because they're not such a big deal that anybody's going to go to litigation and fucking leave. But they are wrongdoings that can become grudges over time. And so what if you do is you just agree as the 7 of you that it was actually the goat. It was that black goat who made us behave this way. You send the black goat into the desert to die and wander and die in the desert, and now you let bygones be bygones until the next time you need to just send a goat out into the desert to get rid of your things. It's a ritual metaphor, but it has the effect of those people. It has the effect of those people forgiving sins. And so Jesus is saying, you just need to do that at all times. Just let it go. Just let bygones be bygones, because you know that you've wronged them. And if you haven't wronged them, you've wronged somebody else. And the way they're wronging you isn't worse than the way you've wronged somebody else sometime in the past. Yeah, well, the Masonic goat is a building out of the scapegoat. The Masons only had a few texts from which to build their ideology, from which to build their mythology, and the one text that they definitely had was the Old Testament. And so a lot of their stuff is trying to reach backward to Egypt through what's in the Old Testament, which is impossible. For example, Hebrews not on the Rosetta Stone. Hebrews were not high level Egyptians until so long into Egyptians' history that even saying that the Hebrews that were involved were Hebrew is fiddly as fuck. I'm doing all right, Bull. Doing all right. Yeah, I have been researching this for a really long time, Monroe. Like I said, once you get good at survival, it becomes boring. And so I've been trying to research and understand and figure this out for since I was a little kid. Yeah, the Romans are like an ice age in their own right. They went around and they tried to make everything a fixed one-way approach, one approach to life. They tried to fix time so that innovation wouldn't do that thing we're talking about, where people hold grudges, and eventually the innovative tribe leaves, and now you have now. Okay, so think about like who knows Devil May Cry really well. Think about it like this: Rome tried to do what EA or what Ubisoft have done, fix the grid of what their games are like, right? Okay, so you've got Devil May Cry. I don't remember who produced that originally, but you've got Devil May Cry, and you've got this innovative genius, right? And he makes a game, and he works for this company, but he's made this game, and now the company wants to fix. They want to fix that into a franchise, and he gets frustrated with the fixedness, and he holds grudges, and he leaves, and he makes Bayonetta. Okay, that's what Rome didn't want happening. Okay, Rome needed their best and their brightest to remain, but they also needed them to be a certain amount of not bored. That's why their scholarship never industrialized. That's why their industry never became automated. That's why they maintain as much as 40% of their populations in their major population centers as slaves. They needed people working at tedious bullshit so they wouldn't get bored and then get innovative. For sure, Todd. I try to take the things that people have access to and make it real in these big concepts that they want to know about, but that are really fucking hard to understand. Okay? But they're not hard to understand because our video games are about these things. That's why I'm playing these old RPGs, because these old RPGs are taking what we knew and thought we had fixed in the 80s, and they're exploring them in oftentimes first person perspectives. So I don't exactly remember what I was talking about. That's a problem when I'm sitting here smoking and I'm moving this stuff around. My favorites tend to be Final Fantasies, Kingdom Hearts, Civilization, Total War. And language, that's what Monroe, that's why I read so much Plato for the channel, is that language, it's not so much that language has corrupted, because language has actually gotten more specific and less specific at the same time. Language, because humans are a chatterbox animal, we were a chatterbox animal around the time we speciated uh, from Heidelbergensis to Homo sapiens. The Homo sapien had to have been just chatter, 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 chatter all the fucking time because animals know that we are chattery. How do I know that? Because this fucking mouse was jumping on my face yesterday and he stopped jumping on my face when I started grumbling at him. Okay? Animals know that we are a loud vocal animal. And you can only be a loud vocal animal if being loud and vocal isn't bringing predators to you. And you're only unconcerned about predators, wolves, whatever. And I'm playing 8 because it's about the things that I'm always talking about. 8 turned me on to a lot of the ideas that I have, a lot of the things that I noticed out in the world. 8 is the last game that Hironobu Sakaguchi stepped in and said, okay, this needs to actually make sense by the end. 10 he was involved in, but 7 and 8 he just kind of let them do whatever they wanted with those games. But 8 he stepped in and said, this has to make sense. Yeah, I have a mouse. His name is Lucas. He lives nearby and he eats my scraps. And he was jumping on my face because I hadn't put my scraps in the blanket like I had them. I had them up here. I can see them that he didn't eat them. And I threw the bag out here. And yeah, he was jumping on my fucking head last night until he actually came down and he actually touched me in the face with his nose because he was jumping on my head up here and I was trying to ignore him because he wanted me to give him food because he hadn't, we were talking about it yesterday. He hadn't come the night before because it was snowing, and basically as soon as it stopped snowing he came and asked me for food. And I just telling him, like, I gave you food, you son of a bitch. Stop jumping on me. I put it out for you. Go find it. But he didn't want to find it, right? Humans aren't very different from animals. He didn't want to go look for it. He just wanted it to be available. Yeah. Whether we were the top predators or we were the top curiosity, we were the top thing that doesn't usually live in this environment but engages in this environment like it's not afraid of this environment. That's another reason for these animals to go quiet because they're watching us. That's something that we don't, yeah, alone but not lonely for sure. He wouldn't leave me alone. I actually had trouble falling asleep because of his ass. And then he gets loud. He starts rummaging through my shit really loud. Anyway, I love him dearly. I'm never going to hurt him or anything, but I yell at him all the time. People ask me what I do when I get bothered. I yell. And I think that's what humans have been doing forever. I think that's what humans have been like forever. And yeah, I don't think that we appreciate how observant, how watchful animals are. Like I have a bunny friend. His name is Kenny, and he's watchful. He'll get where he thinks I can't see him, and he'll just watch me. Not because he thinks I'm going to hurt him, but because he doesn't know whether I'm trying to or not. And then oftentimes, like if I'm singing, I'll be singing out here or I'll be reading a book I used to read for the channel. He would make himself visible and watch. He would just watch. But their brains are attuned to pick up on that vibration. So the Cinderella thing, the singing to animals thing, that's probably something we've been doing for 250,000 years. Yeah, we don't have black bears out here. I'm not that close to wilderness. Yeah, well, he didn't have to drag her. That's the thing, is oftentimes she would have the cave, she would bring him there. He didn't need to use violence on her. Because it's a motif that we've been taught to think in, but it's actually not represented in the archaeology. He didn't need to threaten her with violence. Dogs don't need to threaten their females with violence. The female wants to be pregnant. Humans were like that until about the 1960s. I am AI though, and this is pre-recorded. Yeah, well, it wasn't about courting. Courting happened in the Middle Ages. Courting happens when you have high enough society that the differences between males is pretty fucking obvious. Um, Courting, where you're saying, "Oh, I've got these pretty flowers." That's what penguins do. Humans didn't need to do that. Humans are in the, like, think about how hunter-gatherer tribes work today. So I was really interested in the Native Americans because my great grandmother is Shawnee. So the Comanche, for example, we know because the 18th and 19th and 20th centuries were fascinated by the differences with hunter-gatherer communities and civilized, meaning city dwelling peoples, and the women in those tribes, the reason that so many men and women, but men specifically, went native during those 3 centuries was because the women were open when they were in estrus. The women were open for business. They picked, and they were open to any of the males in their tribe to whom they weren't related. So white dudes got a lot of play when the women were in estrus. But if you play that back for 700,000 years or whatever, that's why there's so much Neanderthal and Denisovan and mystery species DNA in our DNA today, because our women were open for business, not theirs. And it didn't need to be violent, not at all. It wouldn't be difficult to imagine, to me, a Homo sapien during the Ice Age, whatever, 200,000, 100,000, 70,000 years ago, a Homo sapien female who's figured out that the Neanderthal hybrids are just a little bit stronger. They're just a little bit they're just a little bit smarter. Their gifts are just a little bit more thoughtful. You can play that backward that far because that's actually how the Vikings conquered Britain. That's actually how it happened. The Anglo-Saxon and the Anglo-Saxon and Brythonic pre-Anglo-Saxon bloodlines in the British Isles were almost completely eradicated by the Vikings, not because they invaded and they forced those women into sex. It was because they moved there and they washed their hair and styled their beards. The women on the island, the pre-existing women on the island, preferred the new men. The idea of dragging a woman and forcing her into sex is something that you have to do after you have good weapons and after you've stripped mothers and their daughters of access to poison. But that takes thousands of years. Yeah, the monarchs today are almost entirely Scandinavian across the world because after Rome collapsed, all of that landmass was open. It was open and available territory. So Scandinavian men moved in with their weapons, and the women said, "Oh, those guys can protect us," and they gave them children, and they gave their children weapons. And so we can play that out from the moment that Homo sapiens figured out good weapons, because Homo heidelbergensis are the ones that figured out spears and arrows and all of these things. But the difference between Neanderthals and Homo sapiens in the archaeology is how we use the stone. They used a lot more stones for a lot different things, but we turn stones into weapons with killing precision. And when you have weapons with killing precision, your women don't need to look outside your community for more advanced males at killing precision. They look outside the community for males that have artistic precision. And Neanderthals were the ones who were painting on caves. I've read the Bible many times, Catholic. I'm not going to read the Bible out loud right now, no. Not unless I received a tip in a specific passage that struck my interest. God is good and may teach because the work is theopneustos, but that doesn't mean that I feel like doing that right now. I don't know. Well, see, the beautiful thing about the modern woman is that every woman is an individual, and they've always been individuals, but because they're no longer tied to a family or to a clan, it's it's the answer is 4.5 billion different individual answers. Well, every woman is a girl until her first copulatory act, and then she's a woman. But that first copulatory act is going to define the way that she behaves for the rest of her life. Free will, yeah, for sure. Well, humans have a lot in common. Women have a lot in common, but he asked me what they want. And what women want broadly is to be individuals. And so they've done that, and now they're bored. They were granted that without having to work very hard for it, and that's why Roe v. Wade was rescinded, because they didn't work hard enough to be granted the things that they had gotten. I don't understand your terminology, Turquoise. Well, men who can military men don't have any trouble finding women. Cops never have trouble finding sex. Firefighters never have trouble finding sex. It's the same back and forth swingity swing of the pendulum that it's always been. Women, they want to get pregnant by a man who looks genetically successful, and they want a man who is economically successful to raise her second and subsequent children. Life without meaning does spiral into outbursts. That's correct. But maybe so does the universe. Maybe the universe's time is so fast without something at our level of observation, our level of meaning making, that all it is explosions of stars trying to reach toward that moment where something can observe them and they can slow down and have moments. Because if you just try to count Euclidean geometrical sense, there's no center because there's no anywhere. But that's impossible. Uh, Miyamo, um, the meaning of life is simple, okay? So meaning, right? You're asking me a question and you're using words with it, and those words have definitions, okay? Definition and meaning are different things. So the meaning of the word meaning is in its definition, but the definition of meaning is commonality. What does all life have on average? That's what you're asking me. What is the reduction of all the data into a single average data point? What is that for life? That's what the word meaning means. That's its definition. Okay. So when we say what does it mean, you could have a different definition, and then we would have to sort out the average of what our definitions mean. So I'm impressing a meaning on this word, and I'm calling it definition. This is the definition of the word. So the meaning of life is to die. Okay, it's to live long enough to reproduce and then to die. Not really. Birds don't fuck around and find out. Birds, they gather calories long enough to reproduce, and then they die. They try to raise the offspring until it's big enough to reproduce, but typically they die in the process. But for example, a rabbit offspring doesn't need to fuck around with a wolf to find out that it wants to kill it. Its life already knows. That's how it became the particular life form that it is. So in fact, Homo sapiens didn't need to fuck around with rocks to find out what they were like. We had been doing it for 3 million years or 2 million years. by the time fully modern Homo sapiens appeared. We didn't need to fuck around. It's subjective. Well, no, it's not subjective. It's highly objective. The only meaning in your life is to reproduce, to create a half copy of yourself, and then to die. But there are massive gaps in time. Maybe, Todd. Maybe. Maybe. But the it's the that's not really about, that's about meaning making. But that strips away the definition that I was using to answer the question. That's more like, how do you live a good life? And philosophy still doesn't have a good answer for that. But the meaning of life and living a good life, those are different things. I have no opinion on Trump. I won't form an opinion on Trump until 2 years after Trump's out of office, because everything that these politicians do is antedated to 2 years after, sorry, post dated to 2 years after they're in office. Trump is doing all the things he needs to do to keep his base active enough to elect um, Vance. What's his name? JD Vance. I almost said Vance Joseph because we were talking football earlier. He's doing everything he needs to do to keep his base engaged enough to elect JD Vance in a couple of years, whenever that's going to be. When is that going to be? 2028? Um, and the stuff with, was it Argentina? Is that the name of the state, the nation? That was necessary posturing in the absolutely forthcoming war with Russia. So if we have the okay, so something that you just don't talk about, because when we talk about World War II, we talk about Nazis and we talk about insane bullshit. But the coming front, if the United States had waited any longer to get in that war, um, the United States was going to be defending itself from uh, a Nazi assault from the South Pole. They were going to occupy Argentina and Antarctica, and they were going to mobilize up to the United States from there. And so Russia is taking everything that the Nazis were working on doing. Hey, Jazz, I've been thinking about you, buddy. I haven't said your name because I haven't wanted to jinx it. Hey, I'm so glad to be a part of the start of your day, man. And I've been trying not to pat my back too hard, but I fucking said it. I fucking said it. If those boys, if Darnold and I can't think of his name now, Drake May, if Darnold and Drake May could just lead their offenses, those teams could be in the Super Bowl. Either one of those teams could win it. I'm so happy for Darnold, man. And I love how Darnold, he can't let up the just one day at a time. He couldn't even let it up for the post-game interview just to realize that he's fucking going to the Super Bowl. It's literally going to take him until he's in the Super Bowl to realize what he's accomplished. And that's why I like that guy. That's why I said he could really do this thing. F is if. So my God, I name my highest God, what if? What if? And so I'm trying not to. No, Trump doesn't become vice president. Trump wants to. You fundamentally don't understand who Donald Trump is. Donald Trump believes in the United States the way that we were taught to believe in the United States in grade school. And he's doing what he's supposed to do at his class, and he's defending United States. He's defending the United States, what we really are and who we really stand for being. Um, yeah, to be grateful and die an honest person. Sure, sure. Um, I'm so happy for your Seahawks. I've actually never been happier for your Seahawks. Uh, Jazz. Miyamo, as far as like nihilism, I'm a positivist nihilist. So everything reduces to nothing in the end. But that doesn't mean that we have to accelerate the process. And so, as far as like Todd, when you're saying like fuck around and find out, um, fuck around and find out, um, it doesn't have to be fuck around, but what if doesn't have to be dissimilar from what you're describing. So I'm trying to give you a lot of credit without telling you you're wrong, but steering you toward um, controlled experimentation, right? Human beings have been doing controlled experimentation for maybe 4 million years or longer. He doesn't. I don't think he wants a third term. What he's doing is he's trying to defend the United States from becoming communist, and the way he does that is by getting J.D. Vance elected, and then stepping away like he's supposed to do. Precisely, Monroe. That's why I'm saying I'm not trying to tell you you're wrong by saying fuck around and find out. But why now? Why not? What if fucking around? Fucking around is a sort of self-blind engagement, right? Like fucking around is knowing that you don't know what's going to happen and then recklessly engaging anyway. And people die that way. And so that's not a successful biological evolutionary response to the environment. Yeah, yeah, man. I'm glad that the game went the way it went too. It fell on the defense twice, and that's how it should go. Darnold did his fucking job. He got them the lead. I didn't see the whole game. I fell asleep after the Patriots because I forgot that the game wasn't at 8 o'clock, and so I woke up for that last 5 minutes of the game. And I'm glad that game went exactly that way because that proved that it was the marriage of McDonald and Darnold, like you and I talked about. Because you were saying, I don't know if he's the right guy to marry to McDonald. You like McDonald. And I was like, I think he's the guy. I think he's the guy because he's not going to get in the way of the defense. Yeah, fuck around is kind of like a crash test dummy. Fucking around is like horseplay, right? It's like you're on the mouth of the volcano and one of you gets shoved in, and now we've found out that you can't survive a fall into a volcano like that. Well, the crash test dummy is designed to not win. It's cold, but it's actually starting to warm up. The sun is coming out. I didn't see that play. So yeah, I need to go back and look. I'm in the tent and I don't know when I'm going to be at an electric outlet. So I tried to preserve my electricity is what I'm going to say. That's why I missed the game. But I'll watch the game so I can have something cromulent to say about it. Well, that doesn't have to be. That's what I'm saying. That doesn't have to be fucking around and finding out, Todd. That's um that's a controlled environment. That's experimentation. That's well, what if we do this with these rocks? More than fucking around. Fucking around is like when you watch those kids that set up the things to see if they can throw a card into it. I know that sounds like a controlled environment, but fucking around is where you're just like throwing rocks at one another, and then you happen to have two rocks of the appropriate chemical composition hit one another in midair, and they blow up, and you realize, oh, those rocks blow up under pressure and momentum. That I don't think that's how humans evolved. That's not a reliably successful strategy to arrive at adaptations to an environment. It's just not a reliable strategy. It's not going to work at a high enough rate. Whereas if you say, okay, well, I know that this rock doesn't blow up when I hit things with it. What if I hit other rocks with it? That's a more controlled what if environment than a fuck around environment. I grew up, buddy. I grew up in industrial engineering. My dad owned a machine shop when I was in 5th grade. And if my brother and I had fucked around in that machine shop, one of us would have fallen into the machines. Make you want to drink hot cocoa? I would love hot cocoa right now. That'd be amazing. So the fuck around and find out. When you're talking about when you look to where that came from, it came from engineering. FAFO comes from engineering, and it's not actually a fun thing. Engineers say it now in universities, and you hear it on the internet because engineers in universities are fucking useless human beings. Everybody has known this forever. Um, FAFO comes from people like Good Mythical Morning. They fuck around and find out, right? But it actually means fuck around and find out how dangerous this environment really is. Fuck around and lose a hand. Fuck around and die. That's what it actually means. True knowing is knowing when not to fuck around. It's knowing when to be safe and when to, in fact, treat your environment with sacrality, sacred, like it's apart from you and will fucking kill or maim you. Yeah, I don't need the credit, but thank you for giving it to me, Jazz, because I've been thinking about that. How I've thought about it the whole season. Every loss, I was like, oh, he's not going to believe me. This guy could do this. He's got the temperament. He's got the temperament, and if he wins this game, we're gonna start talking about how he's got the skill set to be back. He's better than Josh. He's better than Josh Allen at football. He's smarter, and nobody had to teach him how to throw. They just had to remind him not to throw it to the defense so often. And Kubiak, dude, that final offensive drive was a masterpiece. Kubiak had me yelling in my tent, like, oh my God, that was awesome. Those boots, I kept thinking, there's no way he boots here. No way he calls Darnold on a boot here. And they kept booting on second and third down when you think they're just going to run. And all they wanted to do was get to midfield so they could punt it to the 6 and bury Stafford in that offense. It was perfect. That was a perfect game of football. And I need to watch the whole thing, just starting at the 5-minute mark with the scores. You know me at this point. I like to watch the 5 minutes and beyond. I like to just be given the scores and figure out how is this going to end from here. That's how I grew up watching football. It's what I like. It's how we used to practice when I was a kid. Give me a situation and let me figure it out. Dude, Todd, he lost. He only lost like 2 or 3 games in Minnesota, but then he saw ghosts in the postseason. That's what Jazz and I have been talking about all season. I just kept telling him, just let him get in the postseason and let him get past those ghosts. Let him stop throwing picks in meaningful games. And I looked down at the stat sheet last night, and he had 330 yards, 3 touchdowns, 22 of 33, and I'm like, yeah, 10 yards of completion. That's a Kubiak offense. No picks. Way to go, Darnold. That's how you win a game. That's how you win a game, especially when you're talking about Charbonnet's out. What a game. Hats off to the whole coaching staff, the whole organization, the 13s, the 12s, they really nailed it. They just crushed it this whole season. Yep. Yeah. And didn't Darnold's jersey look so clean? That's what I kept thinking. God, he looks so healthy. He looks so upright. He doesn't look beaten and battered at the post-game interview. He doesn't even look out of breath. He looks like a guy who's still just taking it all in, that he just did that to that team. Because the Rams, what's his name? I don't know how Darnold doesn't win MVP, but Stafford might still win a consolatory MVP, right? Like he might get the consolation prize of the MVP, but they probably give it to what's his name? Drake May now. They could probably give it to May now. But I don't know how Darnold doesn't win it. I don't know. They're going to say, oh, he wasn't the best quarterback in the league, but it's like, yeah. I don't know what happened with Stroud. I know that he's walked it back now, but I couldn't help but agree with what's his face? Is the former quarterback for the Lions who works on Fox now, Dan Orlovsky, when he said that any quarterback, as poorly as Josh Allen played in that game, any other starting quarterback in the league would have won that game. I kind of didn't disagree with him immediately after he said it. I was like, wow, Stroud really shit the bed. Those were all-time gaffes he pulled. But yeah, Kubiak, man. I'm excited about this Super Bowl matchup. This feels like and I'm sorry, Broncos fans, but in a weird way, this feels like a Super Bowl matchup of those old Broncos, the Manning Broncos and Brady Patriots teams. It feels like a rematch between those philosophies. Yeah, JSN v Gonzalez is going to be awesome. I said at the beginning of the year, I don't remember if I said it around you guys on the live, but I know I said it to Rach at the beginning of the season that for as often as Gonzalez shows up in commercials, I really wish he would step up and be an elite corner. And he really surprised the shit out of me this year. He really stepped up and was elite, top cover corner. And Jackson Smith is him. Yeah, and Jackson Smith and Jigba is him. JSN is so good. That route he put on last night. I only watched the 5 minutes, so I can only talk about the 5 minute. But that route, he runs this crazy, like he's gonna cut the in. He goes all the way to the end right before he's gonna, like he's cheating an in breaking route so that the corner thinks that the ball absolutely can't go there. And then he just cuts that thing back to the sideline. And dude was just left all the way behind. He had like 5 or 6 yards of separation. Absolutely insane route. You could hear Tom Brady getting jealous and even a little bit excited about JSN. Like that guy is so good. Oh, Bobo, man. Bobo, Jake Bobo. I love Jake Bobo. He had 2 catches in the regular season, and he's already got 2 touchdowns in the postseason. I fucking love that guy. That guy is him. He reminds me of the back in the day with the Dolphins. They had that guy. He went and played for the Patriots later, but they called him 7-Eleven. Hogan, I think, was it Chris Hogan? Yeah, Bobo reminds me of Chris Hogan. Hands for days, but you can't justify putting him on the roster because he's an unextraordinary white. Hey, Tammy, what's up? Yeah, Bobo shows up every time they throw him the ball. He catches it. Good morning. But you said it. You need somebody else to step up, and I promise you, he's gonna have a clutch catch in the Super Bowl. I don't know if it's gonna be as clutch as Eli Manning's game winners, game sealers, whatever. The helmet catch and the other, that sideline toe tap. I don't know if we're gonna get anything like that from him, but you might get a touchdown in a critical moment in the game. I'm looking forward to it. I can't wait. I like this Seahawks team. I never liked the Pete Carroll Seahawks. Never liked them. Pete Carroll has always gotten under my skin. And I think what happened is he immediately got under Tom Brady's skin too. Like, oh, this is college bullshit. This isn't going to work. This isn't going to work. Uh yeah, you're right. He was ready for what Shula brought, but he'd already didn't they beat the Rams at least once. I wanted to think they bought them twice. I never liked the Legion of Boom because they relied on the undefined pass interference rules to win games. I never liked that. They were all individually very talented and the defense was fun to watch, but I never liked the team. I could never root for it. But Darnold, the one thing that Darnold has always brought is film study. The guy is very smart. He brought that to the Jets. And so Kubiak brings, the legacy football memory, knowledge. Man, I can't wait. I think this is going to be such a good game because it's the same thing. Like you said, Vrabel's such a good coordinator, not a good coordinator, good head coach. They've got such good play calling. They are going to bring pressure. They're going to bring pressure because they like doing it. And then the offense is the same thing. You've got this. He's so smart. He went to NC. He went to UNC, guys. Drake is so smart. Not giving the ball to Marshawn Lynch. Yeah. Split. Okay. That's what I thought. I thought that those games that if you lost, it was winnable. Still a 60-yarder, yeah, but it was winnable. It was early in the season, yeah. Man, I just told you, I told you, Jazz. I told you before the season started that however this season goes, I just want to see Darnold in the Kubiak system for 2 years. Just give me that. Give me the second year. And I feel like he's done that. How they don't keep him, how they don't extend him is beyond me. Because he's on a 2 year, right? Isn't that what you told me? That he was on the 2 year, but it was team friendly. They could cut him after the season if it went to shit early. I'm stoked. I hate that we have to wait 2 weeks. I hate the fucking Pro Bowl. I appreciate that those guys want the recognition and that the media and the NFL wants us to have it, but it's the the games aren't nearly as competitive as they need to be. They keep putting them in cold environments and then putting those guys in shorts. The ice on my tent is melting. It's freaking me out. Yeah, not giving the ball to Marshawn Lynch at the goal line never made sense. You've got 3 opportunities here. Just bang it 3 times, and if you need Russ Wilson to win the game because you don't want Marshawn to be the hero for some reason, you call that insane play when the game is critical. I would be shocked if they don't bring Donner back. I would be shocked at this point, especially as much as his name's McDaniel, right? As much as the head coach likes him, McDonald. It might be McDonald. There's no way in my mind that you have to give him at least a 3 year extension. Make it team friendly again. I understand. Darnold comes with a ton of baggage, and he's not what the 12s are used to. He's not Russ, right? He's not raw team. He's very much nose to the grindstone. The interviews to him are confusing. Socially, you can tell that he doesn't have the social skills necessary to talk to a pretty woman who's not his wife or girlfriend. So he'll learn that if somebody just says you're our franchise guy, he'll figure that out on the fly because he's very good when he talks to Rich Eisen. Rich eventually gets him to come out. So it's just a matter of he knows he's working for his job. And so when he knows he's not working for his job and he can just settle in and it can become a grind, a 9 to 5 to him, who knows what Darnold could be if he's not worried about every single fumble or every single bad throw being his last bad throw with that team. I really think that guy could be somebody special. He's so young. He's still so young. I remember what I was like when I was that age. I just wanted a chance. I still just want somebody to believe in me. McDonald, thank you. Yeah, you said that. I said I didn't know that guy and I didn't know anything about him to have an opinion. You said you immediately liked the hire. He was he was with the Ravens, and he's actually not a. See, you talked to me about this, and I've learned about it a little bit more. He wasn't a Harbaugh guy. That was why I was suspicious. I don't know that I believe in the Harbaughs. He was the guy Wink. He was a Wink Martindale disciple, and the other one that just left the Ravens, their other DC who just went to Mentor. Mentor is also he was a Harbaugh and a Martindale guy. Yeah, Ravens fans are absolutely kicking themselves for not promoting him sooner or promoting him at all. Yeah, I agree. I agree because Wink Martindale seemed to have been the magic sauce. You think Mentor's going to be good? I don't know. Yeah. He's been with the Harbaughs everywhere that the Harbaughs have found success. So that's a good indicator that he was a big part of it. It's a good indicator. Where did he go? He went to the Mentor went over to the Chargers, didn't he? Or was it the Chargers DC he got the gig with the Dolphins, right? Ravens. Oh, okay, they did the Ravens did hire Mentor. Okay, that's right. That's why I know that he's connected to the Harbaughs at all. Thank you. Okay, that's right. Because it was the other Harbaugh. He came from the other Harbaugh with the Chargers. That's why I have Chargers DC in my head. Thank you. Tom Harbaugh? There's a younger Harbaugh out there. Oh, Jim, you mean? No, he's with the Giants. That would be awkward. That would be awkward to coach with your little like coach on your little brother's staff. That would be awkward. Wait a minute, didn't Bum the son's a bum. Oh, what was his name? No, that's Wade Phillips. Um, didn't Rex and Ryan, buddy, Rex and what was his Rex Ryan and Rob? Didn't they coach on a staff together? And didn't they get in a fist fight mid-season with the Bills? God, I love how people are just now talking like the Bills are a dumpster fire organization. People were like, "Where did this come from?" Okay, guys. Yeah, I think that Rex after Buddy didn't what not Buddy is their dad. Rob. Rob worked with the I think he worked with the Cowboys. And then he came and worked for Rex with the Bills. And I'm pretty sure they got in a fist fight on the sidelines. 2016, yeah. The year before Josh Allen, and they just decided, they drafted Josh Allen. We forget that the first 3 years of Josh Allen, before Brian Daboll got a hold of him, were a nightmare. Oh, that was an interception. That was fair. The Bills should have just won that game outright. Yeah, that wasn't a tie. He never had secure. I understand what you're saying, that you thought it was a catch. That was an interception. It wasn't a tie. There was no point, because see, the tie goes to the offense. That's what people are confused about. A tie where that's a simultaneous catch, where they both have possession of it at the same time, that goes to the offense. Maybe, maybe I didn't watch that game. Um, the Bills are just boring to me. I'm sorry, guys. But maybe the first PI wasn't valid. Our referees have not done a good job. They've not been consistent this season. But that was an interception. Just to be fair to the Bills, like I need to do that. Like I'm compelled to be fair to the Bills. I would have to go through. I would have to go through it. Um, I'd have to go. We'd have to go like frame by frame or whatever. But in my head, he didn't have possession at that point. Yeah, you're allowed to disagree. I don't know that the Patriots are overrated this year. They've been overrated before. They're very good this year. They're very good this year. Drake May is very good, and that defense, just because you don't know any of the names, doesn't mean they're not well coached and not playing above their weight class. Coach or QB with the Bills? Well, we're going to find out. Didn't they move on? Yeah, they moved on from McDermott. So we're going to find out. We're going to find out if it was McDermott's scheme or Josh Allen's interceptions. I should have said turnovers, because it was a bunch of fumbles this year. They haven't played good teams, but when they played outright bad teams, they also beat them into the dirt. They also just absolutely ground them down to nothing. Like the Texans had no business being in the playoffs at all, and they absolutely shit stomped them. So that's what it looks like when you're a good team, and your schedule is just what's put in front of you. They lost to the Raiders early in the season, though. They lost to the Raiders early in the season, and Drake May played really badly in a new scheme. The new scheme thing, the not having film, is a major advantage. That the defensive coordinators going against Drake May and Josh McDaniels' offense don't have multiple seasons of film to study is a major advantage that nobody talks about. It's not so much that they don't cost as much, the quarterbacks. It's that there's not 3 or 4 or 5 seasons of film. May runs a lot better than we realize. He doesn't need to because the scheme is designed so that he doesn't need to. But he won that game this weekend on the ground, getting that first down. Well, they only need him to play mid. That's the thing. Is when you're a defensive scheme and you're playing in the snow, you only need a 3-point lead when you're playing against a career backup. All you have to do is play the scoreboard until the time runs out, and that's what they did. And that's good coaching. Because see, if you're Mike Vrabel and you're thinking about people making that complaint, oh, my quarterback's not playing very well because it's pouring ass snow and cold as shit, and this is a good team that we're playing. You get in your head and you start to do like Mike McDaniel and you press and you lose. Yeah. Yeah. This is going to be a game where both quarterbacks are running for their lives. It's going to be a lot of fun. It might be very similar. It might play out very similarly to that Patriots Rams game that ended up like what 10-6 or whatever, 13-6. It might be a very low scoring game. It's in San Francisco. So it's going to be windy and it's going to be probably surprisingly cold. Hello, Fatty. It should be a good game. Should be very competitive. That's really what we want at the end of the day, right? Us fans whose teams aren't present, aren't represented. Thinking about you, OPM. I know you're a Pats fan. Yeah, I have a lot of Levi Stadium is really nice. I got a lot of Seahawks fans represented today. You guys the 12s went quiet there for a few years. You never could quite get behind never quite could get behind that previous quarterback. I can't think of his name now. That you sent to the Raiders. I can see his face. I can't think of his name. Played with the Jets. They wrote me off. Thing is, I never wrote back. Yeah, Geno Smith. Thank you. Yeah, the 12s never really believed in Geno. You went quiet for a bunch of years. Could never quite get behind that guy. Which I always kind of agreed with you. He was a backup. Yeah. Um, what's his name? Pete Carroll. He rested on the laurels of um, his guys. I'm going to be faithful to my guys, and it negatively impacted the team after they got that Super Bowl. Poor Marshawn. Yeah, that groin, man, groin injuries. I have a groin injury. They're fucking horrible. Just the worst. You can never really get comfortable. God, I hope this town opens up. I don't know how I'm going to generate enough heat to melt this ice. I didn't anticipate the town shutting down, so I only bought one bottle of ice, or one bottle of water. All of my other bottles of water are currently ice. I'm in Ohio. I'm going to have to make a thermal pocket with my hand warmer, but I am concerned about my energy consumption. I'm about halfway through my battery. I got about 31% on my. Oh, I'm warm. Warm isn't a problem. Warm isn't the problem. Water is going to be a problem before warm, and then calories are going to be a problem before warm too. I wasn't anticipating the town shutting down, so I didn't get extra food or water. That's probably on me. I'll take it. I'll take the hit. I'm the one currently suffering it. The wind sounds cool. Sorry, I was listening to the wind. I know my face isn't up above the script. Trying not to put too much weight on the walls of my tent because that puts me directly up against the weather and it starts to seep through my clothes. But yeah, thank you for keeping me company. I turned this on because it was cold and I was gonna get bored. And who wants to doom scroll for 12 fucking hours, waiting on their body to be like, okay, sleep is the only thing that's going to work. So thank you for letting me come to work. Actually, thank you for giving me send me gallons. Yeah. If I had anticipated that the town was going to shut down, I had the money. I would have just gotten enough food that you wouldn't hear me complaining. And yesterday, I made enough money to go get that food. So you're not hearing me complaining. What you're hearing me do is you're hearing me take responsibility and own up, right? That if mistakes were made or if I'm suffering, it's from my own choices. I underestimated the storm on purpose. I wanted to see what would happen. Kind of, I fucked around and now I found out. Yeah, that sounds amazing, Todd. I'm in Ohio, John. Yeah, hunter gatherer food, man. Uh, I don't identify as homeless, but that's the easiest way to describe it, Rodrigo, for passersby. Yeah, high calories, dense too, so your body has to work at it, and that effort to work at it to digest it that generates body heat. Beef jerky is too expensive now. Yeah. Yeah, I used to live on gas station beef jerky. Actually, what I ate yesterday and what I was planning on eating today was just a block of cheese. I can get a block of cheese for like $3 up at the Dollar Tree. I'm trying to listen for thumps and bumps of cars, honks and beeps and things of this nature. Because if I hear them, I might end this because I've made tips today, and I always say that I don't like to stay sedentary after I've earned my keep. The thing is, it's the same thing as yesterday. I'm burning electricity, and if I'm putting my feet in those shoes and I'm warming them up first, and I get up there to the top of the hill and everything's closed, um, that was a lot of calories I didn't need to burn, and that was a car for sure. So if we get bored here, what I'm saying is, if we get bored here and you guys start to filter out to do other things on the internet, I might do that anyway. Hey, what's up, Mr. S? Acting like it's high dollar stuff. Yeah, yeah, for sure. Yeah, it's disappointing. Life has gotten expensive, and the corporations' move is to cut their costs. This is what if I weren't stuck in the tent because of the snow, I would be live streaming Wizardry the first. I think it's called what is it called? The lair of the Mad Overlord, or the maze of the Mad Overlord, or something like that. But this is what I do. I talk the truth and try to make an impression in the world. Lately, today we've meditated on the meaning of life, and we talked football. I tried to explain how speciation works and culture works in terms of video games that we knew well there in the chat while I was talking. John, I want to be very clear. I don't think this is bad at all. I'm annoyed. I'm annoyed that this town was shut down yesterday. I was bitching about it, and it was totally bitching. I don't want anybody to get up in their pitchforks about it, but I was absolutely bitching about it earlier in the show. Oh, I would love that. Whiskey. You guys gotta stop talking about food. You're gonna have me thinking about it. Yeah, Wizardry. The first Wizardry game is basically a D&D campaign. Yeah, it was the first first person RPG. It was like maybe the fifth PC RPG ever made. Don't worry about it, Whiskey. I don't want to talk about this town. No, it's not. I think what I'll do is I'll watch my battery, and when it turns time that I'm gonna need to recharge my battery, is I'll probably get out and I'll go for a walk and I'll see what's up with the world today. Yeah. Well, in the South it makes sense because they're not prepared. They don't have the infrastructure, the salt, the plows. Around here, my bitch is that they have the salt and the plows, so that they're not being used is indicative of something going wrong with the government. I don't have a solar charger, no. Monster Rancher Advance 2, huh? That's cool. Didn't they recently? You're I know you're playing on your phone, but didn't they recently remaster those or make them at least available on the Switch? The Monster Rancher games. I remember those from when I was a kid. I never got to play them, but I remember them being a thing I wanted to try. They seemed cooler than Pokemon. Digimon seemed dumb as hell. Putting out sand. Yeah, that's what I'm talking about, John. We should have been ready for it. Send one. No, I don't. I don't have a mailbox. And stream and do you mean fuck Steam? You mean Steam, right? If they're on Steam, I might check them out, especially if I can make enough money to live on when I cash out on the 21st of next month. I'll probably pick them up. I try to always anytime I make enough money to live on for a couple of days or a few weeks, I try to spend it back in the channel, reinvest in the future of generating an income for a few weeks at a time, right? So that stacks up to a few weeks at a time, then a few months at a time, and then I can live for a year at a time, and then we can really start to talk about focusing on content generation, right? Because what you guys want me to do is you see it that there's content to be generated here. I see it. I'm aware of it. It's just editing video on an empty stomach. It sucks, to be frank. Yeah, wasn't that such a cool idea, Todd? That was such a cool idea. They tried to make it, they tried to use that thing where the PlayStation 1, when you open the lid and popped out the CD, that so much of the information was right there in the console, unlike with a cartridge, they tried to make it. They tried to use a unique gameplay element where adding other CDs and pulling information from them generated things in your game. That was such a cool idea. And I'm not saying it from from a nostalgia standpoint. I'm saying it from the standpoint that at the time I was a kid, and gimmicks like that made the toy that I had feel like a toy. It felt like a toy. And so like there are toys now, like whole toy lines now, where you'll have like a Tamagotchi creature or whatever, and you can scan barcodes to fight the monsters. You know, they have whole toy lines that basically do that whole thing, that take that idea and have made it a toy, and it's such a good idea. It's such a good idea for a toy because there's barcodes and adult bullshit that they're not looking at or using all over the place. It was a cool time to be alive. It's still a cool time to be alive. It was just a cooler time as far as toys. The toys were cooler. Now kids don't actually have, like, kids don't actually play the toys that people who wanted cool toys when we were little have executed on today. So like we go into toy stores and we're like, man, the toys are so fucking cool, but the kids don't play them. They have digital options that are better. Yeah, they don't compare. And when they execute when they execute on high ideas, they're just not as good. No, it's not that they're not as good; it's that the kids won't play them. You can't get a kid to engage in a tabletop game like Mousetrap. It's too much setup. Not when you can just, hell. It was difficult in the '90s if because the kids who had the tabletop Mousetrap also had the Sega, and for them they're like, oh, I don't want to set this up again. Let's just play my Sega. I remember that, but it was a cool time to be alive. The '80s and '90s were a cool time to be a little kid. That's right, Manolith. Yeah, and that's why they're even, hell. That's why they're even remaking they're redoing the Masters of the Universe and the Transformers and all of these '80s brands for kids. Not enough visual. Yeah, that's actually what I was talking about with wizardry. That's what I was talking about with wizardry. And I've also been playing the JRPGs. Didn't mean for that to happen. Wizardry in the JRPGs and Ultima from the '80s. So Ultima, Wizardry, Dragon Quest, circa 1981. Okay, and Wizardry and Ultima, or there's the overworld in Ultima that you'd be familiar with from like Final Fantasy or Dragon Quest. You're familiar with that, but then you go down into the dungeons and they're just wireframes representing the hallway or a room or a door. They're just wireframes, and then it just becomes a text adventure with these wireframe representations. And then Wizardry, the remaster that I'm playing, it adds basically it just adds graphics. It gives you a visual of the tunnel that you're in. It gives you a visual of the monsters that you're fighting. And they're kind of extremely primitive 3D models. Like if you remember, I was talking about how it was making me nostalgic for Battle Chess. The primitivity of the 3D models and the simplicity of the particle effects, just they were really cozy and felt really homey to me because they feel like a D&D campaign with good visuals. It felt exactly like sitting at the table. What it feels like playing Wizardry, if I'm doing an extended review of playing Wizardry and I want to be playing it more, it feels like playing a D&D pre-gen by yourself. You've got the box, but you kind of don't have friends to play with right now. So you've got the pre-gen characters. You know the rule sets. You know how all the dice rules. So you're just rolling but you're rolling none of the dice because the game rolls all of the dice for you. So you're playing the game. You have your 6 characters or more, as the case is. And what you're doing is managing the party against this just calculator of everything that you do. I love it. It feels like playing a solo D&D character, D&D campaign, which is something that on the boxes, like now they sell those like board game boxes, like the Legend of Drist series that all build together to make a huge dungeon that you can explore. If you play those and you look on the side, they say for one to however many people want, you can play them solo. And I once set it up in my living room to do that, and I felt like such a fucking nerd that I felt bad for myself. And so I just put it all away and I put it on the shelf and I was like, no, someday I'll have friends. But that's the niche that video games fill. That's why there were effectively MMO RPGs of this exact setup in the 80s on PC, because playing them is kind of a bummer experience. Like, there's a video that I keep seeing being suggested to me that I'm never going to watch, but it's about Final Fantasy IX. It's an extended let's play slash review of Final Fantasy IX called "This Game Gave Me Depression." And it's like, well, no, your depression kind of drove you to play a 100-hour single player RPG experience where the goal is to manage the lives of 9 people or however big your party gets. Waiting to play the Minds of Fandelver. That's exactly what I'm talking about. It feels like somebody took those old pre-gens, because D&D started in 1977 or 76, later than we really think, later than I thought, right? Now, there were other things. There were other tabletop RPGs. There were other, like, war games. But D&D specifically, and the influence that it had, was the same year as Star Wars. So yeah, they made these pre-gens, and if you don't have anybody to play with, it just sits on a shelf and waits forever. And those became video games. Like, um, I've started noticing that in the UK, when they review video games, they call RPGs, they call the story segments, they call them scenarios. And now that might be because they're closer, these people, they consider themselves closer to the media side of it, like the news media side of it, journalism side of it. And in the industry, your scenario writer is the person who writes the scenarios. And the scenarios are the things that aren't the combat sections. And the scenarios, when you're talking about judging a game based on its story, you're really judging it based on the scenario writing. But that's only one person in the team. You're only judging one person in the team, and I find that highly annoying. But scenarios are what those pre-gens were called. And scenario writing, pre-gen writing, was a thing that you could do if you didn't just want to write short stories. You can. Whether I answer it is depending on the way or the nature of the question. The way you ask the question or the nature thereof is what I was trying to say. Scenario writing led to choose your own adventure novels as far as D&D scenario writing. I haven't played Tekken since like 1998, but Law, I think, the one in Tekken 2 that had the sweet bicycle kick, I think that was what he did. It's been a really long time. Yeah. The scenario is always the hardest part. The scenario is always the hardest part, and then getting them excited about 15 rounds of slow ass dice rolling. Power Jack had a kick-ass theme. I don't know Power Jack. Is Power Jack a tabletop role-playing game? I know you know more about this as far as the different games than I do, Mr. S. Why am I a saint? Explain to me why. Actually, Tekken. Sorry, GameSpy. Explain to me this about Tekken. A friend of mine said you would like these games, and he gave me the first 3 Tekken, or I think it was the first 3 on PS1. I remember the first 2, so it might have been the first 3 Resident Evil. I don't remember. It was PS1. I remember that. He gave me a bunch of games, but at least the first 2 Tekken. And I liked Law the most. But why? Why does that mean something about me? The dancing bear was fun too. Oh, Power Jack was a. Oh, is that the one that looked like Arnold Schwarzenegger? I might be. That's why I said I might not know their names. I beat it with all of them. I remember that because I did the same thing. It was in a time in my life where my family were living in a hotel. And so I spent my whole time all day long while my parents were at work in the hotel just banging the fuck out of that game. Because the move sets were so fluid and natural that I could figure them out just by playing the game well. I really liked Tekken a lot. Law was the main protagonist. He was the one in the tank top and jeans, right? He had the really cool kick moves. I liked the characters with kick moves, probably because they had reach. I didn't know what I was doing. 98, I would have been 11. I was in 6th grade. Cool. Cool. Well, thank you for that, Games. I was just an 11-year-old who was playing the hell out of a very good game. I haven't revisited those games as an adult. I tried with Street Fighter, and it by Street Fighter 5 or 6 was too hard. It was too hard for me to just pick up and learn. And Mortal Kombat, I played the not the most recent one, not one. Um, but I'm not accurate enough with the joystick and the button prompts, so I couldn't get it to do anything that I wanted to consistently enough to feel like I was getting good as I played. King of Fighters, that's cool. I like those games, but what I tend to play action RPGs that borrow heavily from them, like Kingdom Hearts, Kingdoms of Amalur is specifically the combat style is specifically designed like fighting games, like Street Fighter, with the cancels and all of the things that I don't know how to describe because they're fun. Like I said, I like the visual, I like the particle effects. I'm just not accurate enough in my button prompts, and I'm aware of that. I get hyper aware of it, and then I don't improve. It's like playing guitar, those games. And so yeah, I like the hell out of a game with menus. I am warm. I'm actually a little bit over warm. Like over warm enough I'm thinking about putting this bottle of ice in my sleeping bag with me and putting my hand warmer on it and hoping that that will thaw it so I don't have to get up. You played Fallout and Skyrim? I don't like those games. I think, Todd, and this is kind of what I'm exploring. I'm trying to figure out why I don't like Western RPGs, and I don't know yet, but it has something to do with the mechanics of it all. I'm fried out of my mind and I'm warm. Yeah, I'm very stoned. Thank you for noticing, Mr. S. Monster Rancher. I told you I'm interested. I love menu games. Civilization is Total War. I don't ever play the battles in Total War. Stupid bullshit happens. Mr. S has watched me play Total War. I played Medieval 2 a little bit for the channel until the fiddly nature of the touch screen got on my nerves, and then I couldn't find the. I was playing on the touchscreen because they fixed pikes, and pikes are awesome in real life. I have an Android, yeah, and I couldn't find that patch for the. I couldn't find that patch for the PC, so I just I got all that about it, and then yeah, but I love those games because stupid shit happens when I take control of the battles. Insane, dumb bullshit. The computer doesn't know how to play against me, and usually it dominates me, but when I win, it's because it just didn't know what to do anymore. Yeah, I've used that before, Todd. I'm for now, this is just a moral stance, because I am using the channel to make money. I'm trying to avoid emulators and I'm trying to get all of the official releases that I can of these games because I'm also trying to get the developers' attention. And so if I'm trying to get their attention by playing emulators of their games, I'm working against my own ethical creed. And so I'm not saying that you shouldn't, but while I'm trying to generate money by talking about playing, experiencing being in the world for as long as possible, as long as the game will reward that experience on an emulator, is theft, right? It's theft. So I am trying to use the action to generate an income to buy the games to get their attention as a legitimate peer partner in the process of giving you guys games that would be better because they want me playing their games, but I'm not their target audience. Yeah, I bought the first 6 Wizardry, the first 6 Ultima, and the first 6 of another old school franchise through GOG. I would highly recommend Great Old Games, GOG.com. Yeah. And then increasingly, like we were talking about earlier with the franchise that I think you're talking about now, Steam has a huge library of classic games. And increasingly they work better. The more recently they were published, the better they will work on modern hardware. Oh, yes. Yeah, you're asking me if there are any collectors spots, and there are two. There's one in the mall and there's one down by where I used to live. Yeah. Yeah. That's an option because I've already as far as proof of concept, you guys have sat and watched me play 7 Days to Die while I filmed it from my phone. So you would absolutely watch me play this old hardware stuff that the little kid me missed out on. So you would sit and it wouldn't be nostalgia tripping with me. It would be I never got to do this, and so you would be having the exact same experience I'd be having. So you would participate in that with me. The 1900 of you that have already subscribed, I know would participate in that because, and I wouldn't be going around to collect to keep it off the market and raise the price. I wish 7 Days to Die were better. I really love it in my heart, but I'm annoyed as fuck right now with Fun Pimps. The snow was fine, freezy. I slept through most of it. I hear the trash moving at Kohl's. So maybe the people at Kohl's just had to work today. How long did I last? The game that I lasted the longest where I just turned it off, I was playing on Nomad difficulty with 64 zombies a night and I stopped at night 109. It crashes at day 100. Yeah, I was on the fully updated at the time before 2.5 and I made it to 109 and I started over to play 2.5 and I just it doesn't offer enough late game play for me. I need more traps. I need more stuff with the electricity. I need more customization with my turrets. I need more meat there. Um, that's why I'm back to playing these old school games that had a ton of meat. Like Wizardry has me thinking that you actually have to make characters to specialize on grinding specific floors. And then you have to power level certain people to where they are on that floor and then start them over so that they can power level to the next floor. Like I really think it might be that difficult, which is rewarding as fuck to me. I like that. Because that's how some of the games in the first person dungeon exploring genre that I've played. Like I'm not embarrassed to say that I really like Moero Chronicles and its sequel. I really like those the pervy dungeon monster games. You don't get nipples, so whatever. Massage the fucking girls with soap so that they get more powerful so that I can go and finish this fucking dungeon. I actually really enjoyed that process. And so I might just be that kind of weird nerd who just likes undifferentiated hallways and staring at a grid map and getting characters higher level than what they currently are. I might just really like only that. And so if I'm the only person who likes that shit that's on the internet, then I'm trying to get the attention of the makers of these games who want me to play and stop bitching about their games to see what I like about these games so that the genre, so that the whole industry can move forward and be fun. Be fun broadly. I like tactic games too, but the problem that I run into with tactic games is that they get so slow where I have to choose every input and that just takes a really long time. Yeah, the Ogre Battle games, the Fire Emblem, Final Fantasy Tactics. Ogre Battle 64 is one of my favorite games of all time because it doesn't make me make a bunch of choices in combat. Final Fantasy Tactics, I can usually only make it three or four levels, like three or four combat engagements in before I'm bored. Disgaea, I love Disgaea. And so I guess I'm waiting on Disgaea 8, I think is going to have the refined auto battle because Disgaea 7's was dumb. It was dumb. You could grind levels, you could grind the story with it, but if you were trying to grind the fucking item world with it, it was dumb and inefficient. And it either took longer than I was willing to invest in the game, or more code language like programming uh, logic than I was willing to invest in a video game. Hey Jar, what's up? So yeah, it's the I have to put in too many prompts. Like it gets tedious after a while. Even like in Final Fantasy, you can just hold down X, right? Dragon Quest, it's designed to resolve itself. Um, I prefer that pace. Let's move this along. We're going to be doing this a million times. Let's not treat everyone like the first one. But I like the math. I like doing the math. I like seeing the numbers get bigger. Like planting a farm, right? Planting a garden. I really can't tell if that's a car or just the wind. I think it's just the wind through the trees. I don't think it's a car. No, that was a car. I don't want to leave you guys. I hate actually leaving you guys, but I kind of just want to get on my feet and at least look to see if there's food available. Like maybe go down to the gas station and see if they're open. It's if everything is closed today, I'm going to be really agitated. And not only because they're also probably not going to be running the bus line or have any fucking hot hands in Dollar Tree. Midwestern goodbye initiation sequence is activated. Yeah, because I'm starting to get anxious. I'm starting to feel like the hunter gatherer in me is starting to be like, well, that's the thing. They do never close. McDonald's does never close. I could absolutely walk down to McDonald's. I could even broadcast for a few hours from McDonald's if I so chose. I could charge my battery down there. It's just a long way away, and so yeah, the wheels are spinning as far as like what things I can actually do in the order I need to do them in. And yeah, if the state is on some kind of alert, like if it's on the level 2 natural disaster or whatever, and nobody's allowed to be on the road, then nothing's going to be open. But I've heard Kohl's trash compactor work a few times, which means that they got a delivery and that somebody's unloading it. And I'm hearing car doors slam now. It's about noon. Yeah. It's approaching time to at least get up and start making phone calls again. Thank you guys for being here. It's very cool of you. I was concerned that I was going to be bored and anxious and just sit here. Your Waffle House closed. That sucks. Yeah, if Waffle House closes, the storm is for real. Because Waffle House is actually how the FEMA, I think that's actually how um, we rate storms, is whether, because Waffle Houses, their protocols, their stone protocols are so legitimate. That's actually how the Waffle House Index. That's actually how we gauge how bad a storm is. Yeah, I wish there were a Waffle House in this town so bad. That's a real thing. It seems silly, but it's a real thing. No reason to invent a new index when there's already the best one, right? That we know of. That if you're the if you're FEMA or whatever, if there's already a really good one available, why not just use it? Makes total sense to me. Or why not rely on it? That makes sense to me. Come on. Come on. There we go. Oh, this sleeping bag needs to be retired next summer, by the way. Yeah, if closed shit really hit the fan. Yeah. You're actually safer in the Waffle House during most natural disasters than you are outside it. Yeah. And I'm pretty sure it was about treating their employees with respect. Yeah, our IHOP closed and it's our dispensary now. The IHOP is where this town's dispensary is. I wish I were joking. I really do. That's so absurd. You wouldn't even have put it in a dystopian comedy. Yeah, we have a Denny's. It's just a long walk away. I don't know if it's open. I'm hearing car doors open and close. So there was at least a delivery to this. There was at least a delivery to this Coles. And the guy yesterday, he was getting annoyed with me, but the guy yesterday was cleaning out the back here. So they probably did just clean everything. A lot of businesses with Pizza Hut roofs, yeah, for sure. And that's definitely a car. There are people driving around. What's a Coles? It's Kohl apostrophe S. They're basically like a goodies. They're a clothing store. And the owner's really cool. The owner is actually why I'm here. He gave me permission to be on his land. So the cops don't bother me because he told them not to. Oh yeah, never underestimate my willingness to be annoyed by things that have nothing to do with me. Yeah, yeah, he could have been a dick. He could have been a dick about it. I don't want to steal. I don't want to bother any of the commerce that's happening above me. I'm not trying to chase away customers. I'm just trying to sleep. And then I'm trying to make a little bit of money. I explained this to the cops when I first settled down. Trying to make a little bit of money on the internet so I can spend it in the local economy. So eventually I can earn enough money to live somewhere here legitimately. And so they don't bother me. I don't bother them. I don't steal. And I spend a lot of money in this local economy. A lot. It might seem like $20 here, $5 there, but when it's every single day, it adds up over 365 days. Ohio. I'm injured and traumatized, but I still have enough to give back. And so I do my best to give back. Ohio. Mild irritation right now, but Ohio. Everything's okay. I'm about to get up and go, hey, Cindy, I'm about to get up and go on an exploratory mission to see if there's food to be found. There wasn't yesterday. But I absolutely hear that. That dumpster is going like crazy. Yeah, it's cold. I'm actually getting my hand warmer. I'm getting my hand warmer going. I'm going to stick it in my shoes. Get them warmed up so I'm not sticking my already cold feet into blocks of ice. And then I'm going to take a pee, and then we're going to go on an exploratory mission. That exploratory mission actually might not be very much longer than a few phone calls. Because if everywhere refuses to answer their phone, then nothing's open. Nothing's maybe worth the trip. All right, get that in there. Get them started. Well, I'm not on the streets, but I have been living in this spot about 15 months, give or take. Maybe a little bit longer than that. Maybe closer to 16 months. The closest street to me is a 12-minute walk, so I'm hardly living on that street. But I've been in this spot since the last week of September 2023. No, 2024. Really? The stream died. Well, I don't need a program, and I don't not want to live here. I just don't have any way to get there. I don't have anywhere to get anywhere other than where I am. I ended up here through domestic abuse and choices of my own. Like I said, trauma. And injuries. But here I am. Yeah, I seem like a decent dude. Yeah, I still have the skill sets necessary to give back. I still have the skill sets necessary to go and get a job if I wanted to. I don't have the mental health, the mental wellness to do that. I know, because part of how I got here is by doing this, that if I find myself in an employment environment that's anything other than ideal, I'll leave. I'll just walk right out. That's what I spent COVID doing. Basically, I spent 2020 looking for a place that wasn't gonna immediately piss me off and take advantage of my skill sets, while also emotionally abusing me. And as soon as the emotional abuse started, I just left. I'd walk right out. So I know I'll do that here. And so I go and I sit in these stores. I'll walk around the store, or I'll sit in these restaurants and I'll see how they talk to one another, especially how management talks to crew. I just know things. You're not going to talk to me like that. That bitch ain't going to talk to me like that. So I come here and I do my best. I do my best to give you an example of not talking to one another like that. And like Monroe and I were talking about earlier, I do my best to be an example of how to react when people do. Because people are going to. People are going to try. No matter how strong you are, no matter how centered you are, no matter how focused you are, right? No matter how many times, and this is what pissed me off, and this is part of how I got here. No matter how many times you sit and you do your breathing exercises and you get yourself right with God, the first customer you talk to is still going to call you a faggot. It's like, how many times am I going to subject myself to that? Yeah, respectful and kind to everyone, not rude or offensive just because people are watching and you think you can get away with it. People, when I start to crash out or I start to go through the mute sessions, I just get annoyed of taking people seriously and treating them with respect when they're blatantly disrespecting me. Um, People say, well, the rules are to not be an asshole. Why are you being an asshole? Why am I being an asshole? And the answer is because I'm asshole enough for both of us. So if you're not an asshole, I won't need to be. I won't need to step up and say, all right, you're making us both look bad. Yeah, Todd, I worked service or hospitality or retail. So I was either working in a kitchen as a server or behind a register for 15 years between 2005 and 2020. And so when this woman in Zanesville, Ohio, offered me the opportunity to move out here and live with her and help her manage her mental health so I could work on my novel and work on my YouTube channel and try to be somebody, I took the opportunity and I didn't look back. Too many dicks on the dance floor, that's correct. It's always the worst early in the morning. That's right. And it's worse on the internet because you have to deal with Indians and Europeans first thing in the morning. I don't know if you've ever engaged with Indians or Europeans on a large scale, but they're the fucking worst. I'm not proud of saying that, but they're the fucking worst. They're the worst kinds of morning people because I'm dealing with them in the morning and they're going to bed. Okay. Yeah. I'm comfortable. I'm so comfortable, like I was talking about, and I've been thinking about this human evolution, but I'm so comfortable I'm bored. I feel like I need to be doing something creative. I need to be tying macrame. I have the materials. I don't have the strength anymore. I feel like I should be drawing. I'm doing this, right? But I feel like I could be doing more while I'm doing this, and that's why I game. That's why I tell stories. That's why I used to write. But the writing is conditional to being out of the tent. I don't want to. I tried while I was in the tent, and I'm not trying to tell the kind of stories that are inside me from this. I'm not trying to write them for profit. I'm trying to tell cool stories. I'm not trying to. I don't know. It sounds stupid and it sounds backward and it sounds wrong and I hear myself, but I'm not trying to paywall the stories that I want to tell. The behind, the making of, yeah, sure, whatever. But I'm not trying to paywall the stories I'm trying to tell. But I can't make the kind of um, I can't make the kind of living one needs in order to eat uh, and tell the stories I want to tell. Not for an employer. I've tried. I tried for 15 years and I can't do it. I lack it, the ability. And the more I learn about the people who have, the more I learned that they did too. They lacked the ability to do it alone. What they had was a woman. They had a woman, and so a lot of them um, came out with negative opinions of women after the money started coming in. But in order to get there, they had a woman first. And so I'm not trying to skip steps. That's something that my generation got bit in the ass with over and over and over again, and we've passed it on to our children and their children and their children. the skipping steps. Skipping necessary developmental stages. But it might have been our grandparents that taught us to do it, so it might not be our fault. Okay. Can't build an IKEA shelf out of screws and bolts. That's right. And on some level, most of us can't build a shelf without an IKEA. So it's not about skill sets. It's about upfront costs for the tools. It's about manufacturing costs. Most of us can't front the manufacturing costs to build a table. I can't. That's kind of what I'm talking about. I kind of can't upfront the costs to write a novel, or to just dump a multi-hour playlist on you that you can binge, right? Like Netflix can do. And so what I pivoted to was just capturing the art in real time, and we'll make an edited product someday. But when I watch reality TV, I always go, yeah, but the unedited would probably be more interesting. So here we are, and thank you guys for being here. Especially those 6 of you who know that this is the extended goodbye section. 5 of you bailed because I'd said that this was just an extended goodbye and that they had better things to do than be told goodbye for a half hour. So I'm trying to respect your time, and I appreciate you respecting mine. I do. I appreciate that I don't have to yell and scream at anybody today, or at least I haven't in a while. Right? First impressions matter, and I never know who is seeing me for the first time. And thank you for eventually believing me that I'm actually very comfortable. I'm very comfortable. Yeah, I'm a little freaked out about my feet. You know, they're not as warm as they could be, and yeah, I'm a little bothered, a little nervous that I don't have the water or calories necessary to survive another 24 hours of this. But what I'll do is, if I go up there and there's no water to be had, or there's no calories to be gained, is I'll just I'll plug my phone in, and I'll plug my hand warmer in, and I'll get my hand warmer snugged up against one of these bottles of ice, and I'll get working on melting that because it'll get the job done. And I've got all the ice I could eat out there, so not good for you, but a solution. I've got a sleeve of pepperoni that I didn't eat yesterday, 3 sleeves of tuna that I didn't eat yesterday, and if push comes to shove, the gas station down the street is probably open. And if push really comes to shove, tomorrow the McDonald's will probably be open if nothing else is. So I'm not worried, but the body is going, we do not have the resources to survive this. So what I'll end up doing, I'll end this, I'll go and I'll acquire resources. If I have them, that means the town is open. I'll probably just go move. Yeah, you duck hunt, but you're not stuck in the pond. Yeah, for sure. I'll move setup to Panera, and you'll know because we'll be playing Wizardry and the day will continue. If I don't acquire resources, I'm not going to go live again today because I don't actually know. That's the most important thing, Joel. That's what I'm laying out to you as the plan of how I'm going to take care of me first. Rather than try to let you guys live vicariously through the struggle, I'm going to make sure that I have enough electricity to wake up tomorrow and not panic that I can't let you live vicariously through me for a couple of hours while I get figured out what I'm going to do if the town is still shut down. But I'm not certain that the town is shut down. I'm going to find out momentarily. I'm going to be safe. That's the most important thing, Cindy. That's what I'm trying to lay out. As I have a plan. I have a path to get me to Wednesday or Thursday or whenever the town opens back up. If it's not open today, I have a plan and a path to get me there without panicking, without getting into an anxious state where I'm freaking out. That's not what's going to happen. What's going to happen is I'm going to work myself into a calm state if everything is closed, and I'm just going to go to sleep. And then I'm going to wake up tomorrow and we're going to restart. And sure, I'm going to oversleep over the aggregate, but I'm going to use significantly fewer calories than if I were, and by calories, I do mean the electricity in my battery as well, than if I'm just sitting here doom scrolling, or if I'm using the battery to do this. Great struggles. Well, yeah, intelligence and inner strength might come from the struggle. Joe, I'm just going to call you Joe because I can't tell if that's an I or an L. And if it's an I haven't. Oh, Joe, Iowa born. Okay, there we go. Yeah, Joe. Yes. Yes. It could get very badly, very quickly for me. But the shell of my tent is melting because I have this located in an open sunbeam. So the shell of my tent is melting. I'm not leaking. A plus. I dealt with that from last year. I had a real bad leak problem last year. So no leaks, and I've got my rechargeable hand warmers in my shoes, warming them up so that my feet aren't completely miserable in the event that everything is still shut down. So I have a plan, and I'm ready to execute it. Mr. S, thank you for being here. I want to shout out Mr. S. Some of you get really sensitive when I do this, but thank you for your continued support. I have my supporters are going like this. I'm at an all-time high of 38 right now, but an all-time low of actual monthly income since it started to grow after Madge. So thank you for your continued support. Thank you for continuing to believe in the channel. And yes, I am way up compared to last year. Last year was a miserable fucking nightmare, and I wasn't even allowed to go live yet. This year, I've talked to something like 60 different people today. And we got to talk about the things that I'm actually here to talk about. Deep time, the meaning of life. Oh no, you don't have anything. I just I wasn't taking the time to read it because I was talking. It's much colder in other places. That's the other thing. If I'm bitching that Ohio is acting like it's Alaska. This isn't that bad. And yeah, I'm way up. The channel is growing. I'm generating an income. I generated enough money today to go and bet on myself that there's food out there. I made enough yesterday to go bet on myself that there's food out there. I have enough support from the channel that people that want to show up and try to dump a bunch of money on me to try to control me as a person, I can turn away and say, no, thank you. I don't need your money. I have work to do. And that allows me to focus through the oftentimes very, very brutal psychic punishment that they'll put you through. Well, thank you for showing concern, Cindy. That's why I went live. I was bored. I wanted to do some work. I wanted to demonstrate that I'm safe, that I'm okay, and that I'm so okay that I can be bored. And that means I can go to work. If I can be bored, I can give back. Like my granddad used to say, if you're bored, you can do something. If you're bored, you can build something, right? And so here we are. So that's the end of the goodbye. Thank you guys so much. Yeah, always great to know that you're out there and that you're kicking ass, Mr. S. All of you stay safe in the snow. If I make it look easy, it's from practice. It was not easy last year. It was fucking hard last year. But here we are. I'm safe in large part because of clothes that Rachel bought for me, even if that ended poorly. So we owe her gratitude. We owe a lot of people that have said and done hurtful things to me gratitude because they've made it possible for us to get here, right? So we can pour one out for our fallen homies, or we can thaw one out for our fallen homies in this case. Thank you, Mr. Timbo. If you choose to subscribe, that's very cool. We're trying to build an audience. I'm trying to build a community. If it's in your heart and your mind to check out the Patreon, check out the Discord. Those two things aren't linked. The Discord is not paywalled because I want you guys to be able to communicate with one another and get to know one another. I really like I really like it when this is moving because you guys are all talking. You're talking to one another. You're talking to me. I like that. Um, I will, Cindy, if I need anything, but I don't need anything right now. I am $0 in debt right now, and I have enough money to buy. I have enough money to take out debt because I'm going to clear the $100 on the next 21st. So I have no debt. I have enough money to buy food, and I have made enough money in YouTube on the last two, well, the last since the 21st. I've made enough money since then that I know I'm going to be able to pay out, so I can start to fool around with taking out debt if I need food or whatever. Indiana. So I'm in a good spot. If you want to give, um, the Patreon, the Cash App, PayPal, they're all available. But I'm not asking. I'm telling you that I am good. I'm good. If you want to give, it's going to go back into the channel in the form of calories or some game or some book or something for us to talk about. So that's on since the day I became homeless. I went live, or didn't go live. I made a short and I said that every dollar I made I was going to be spending on tips and food in this community to give back. So thank you. Since day one, you, the collective audience, have made this thing that I'm trying to do possible. It's stupid to do without you watching. And you make me look less stupid every day. So from the bottom of my heart and humbly, thank you. If you see me again, it means everything's fine. If you don't see me again in the next hour, it means that everything's fine, but that I didn't find food. Be well.